On today's podcast, we're talking about how to keep your wood good. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. It's Shane and Justin again.
Hey, let the innuendos begin on this one.
There's going to be a few where it's like, there's no doubt we're going there. So
well, you know when you start off a podcast episode with one, that it's setting the tone. So here we go.
Here we go. How to keep your wood good. So, topic for today is talking about the different products that are out there to make sure your framing on your deck lasts a little bit longer. To be more technical instead of just keeping good wood. That's what we're talking about today. So we're going to talk a little bit about like end cut treatments and a little bit about joist tapes and well, that's really it. But there's a lot of products within those two categories.
Exactly. There's a plethora of stuff on the market. So
what do you want to start with?
I don't know. Let's start.
Paints?
Sure. I was
the
going to
liquid
suggest
stuff.
The liquid stuff. Yes.
So to my surprise, this is not as well known in all markets as I thought it would be. In our market, this has been a product that like I've always used since I built my first deck. It was just something you did here. You had to do it. But I know from posting about it on my Instagram in past years when I was still building, a lot of people were asking, what's that crap you're painting on the ends of your joists when you're cutting your framing and stuff? And it's like, then you had to explain it. It's like, well, it's an end cut sealant. It's like, well, we don't use that here. It's not required, blah, blah. And
I wonder if the conception is that it's like, well, the wood's already it's pre-treated. So if I make a cut, then it's no big deal.
It's probably part of it, but yeah, I don't know. It's it just isn't a common thing in other areas, I guess. But I remember kind of going through this with people, and then they would go do their own research and be like, and find out that the brand of treated lumber I'm using actually says I'm supposed to be using this. Yeah. I wasn't aware of it, but it says you're supposed to. So the reason for this end cut treatment is treated lumber is treated by soaking in a vat of some sort of copper chemical. Yeah. And so it just absorbs this chemical, and then it gets pulled out and it gets banded and shipped off on the truck. So it doesn't sit in there long enough, or the treatment doesn't get deep enough into the wood to treat the board right to the core of the board. It's just really a surface treatment for the most part. And that's fine when you're not cutting it, but if you cut it, you've then exposed the untreated core of the pine, spruce, fir, hemlock, whatever your area uses for treated lumber. Now, sometimes in certain markets, or certain types of lumber, certain brands will have small incisions in it that allows the treatment to get a little bit deeper. Usually your ground contact stuff has those little incisions to get the treatment get deeper, but it's still not going all the way through. So what the end cut solution is supposed to do is seal up those raw ends of the boards. So great idea to do with all your cut end of your joists. Great idea to do with your stringers. Stair stringers are big, right? Because when you cut your stair stringers, you're cutting out a ton of meat out of it, and you're exposing a lot of that open core, and you're exposing a lot of end grain that's more porous that will soak in more water. So it's good to treat them with this solution. You can get it in a variety of brands and whatever. I'm assuming they're all fairly good.
Yeah, we use one particular brand that doesn't kill everything if it drips off the boards.
Yeah, so some of it is like putting pure diesel, like it's just.
Yeah, it kills everything.
Turpentine, it just stinks.
And like when I remember when we would come home from a job site and both of our wives would be like, "Get to the shower." Like the stuff is rank. Yeah. It's pretty heavy duty.
Together, both you, hurry up.
Yeah,
and take a camera. It's like, listen, honeys, we're friends, not. Anyway,
we're not just a couple pieces of meat,
Yeah, you can't just treat us like that. So the stuff stunk, and you would smell like it for days. I know that we used to sell Armor All. Actually made one. We used to sell at the store here years ago, and it worked good. Like it soaked in and it repelled water and everything else. But it was strong stuff. You did not want to get on your hands, and it was impossible not to. You're painting it on with a paintbrush,
and then you're handling
on a job site. Exactly. Then you're grabbing that chunk of wood and you're painting your blocking, and they're only 10.5 inches long and 14.5 inches long. You're going to get it on you, no doubt. Yeah. And some of it was just like bright green, so it'd stain your clothes and everything else. So a couple of years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, we came upon a product called Protect-A-Cut.
Yes.
Made by Sanson Corporation. Mm-hmm. And it's an end cut treatment as well. I believe it's like a low VOC, a little bit more environmentally friendly, but works in a little bit different of a manner too. It's kind of more of it's not a wax, but it's kind of what it reminds you of. It kind of
it's almost like a clay base.
It smells like clay.
Yeah,
like Play-Doh.
Yeah.
So it's not rancid by any means.
And I think application wise, they want. I I think for optimal performance, they want like 3 coats or something like that. But
yeah, they want you to layer it on as much as you can, which is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I just like one big coat and on it goes. But it soaks into the wood really well. They have different colors. They've got their clear brown green. So if you're using ACQ green lumber, use the green one because it'll match really well. If you're using like a Tanatone or a Micropro Sienna or something, then use the brown one because it'll match really well. And it does actually match really well. It goes on really bright, but once it dries, it fades to like the same color of the treatment. So it's nice for using on not just your framing, but if you're doing a pressure treated deck with deck boards, you can treat the ends of them and it protects it and gives the brown color back to the cut end of the board instead of being bright white lumber. So, exactly. And like you can drink it.
It tastes amazing.
I don't know if that's true. Don't drink it. Disclaimer, don't actually drink it, but it doesn't stink or it doesn't smell poisonous. It doesn't, like you can get it on you. It's tough to get off your hands because it does.
It smells like,
it
literally
really
smells like wet crayons.
Yeah, it is a waxy clay.
I ate crayons as a kid, so.
Yep. So there you go. Don't do that. Here's how it turns out. Boy, we're like, this is going to be a very long podcast. We talked about end cut sealant for 6 minutes.
Perfect.
Anyways, a lot, if not all, of pressure treated lumber manufacturers require, or it's part of their installation method, is you're supposed to treat your cuts with something, with some sort of end cut treatment. So we really, really like Protect Cut. It's amazing because it doesn't stink and it works great. And it, like if you get it on something, I know I've dripped some of it on like a composite deck board before. And like if you clean it up right away, no problem. But if you let that dry and sit there in the sun for a little bit, once it dries, it's you can't get it off with water. You need to get a soap and a stiff bristle brush and kind of scrape it off. So it sticks to whatever it's going to pretty well. So it doesn't wear away with water, which I guess is a good thing because that's what it's supposed to do is protect the water. Anyway, so that's one option is these paint on end cut sealants. Those are a good idea. And then there's a whole other category of products that stop the water from ever touching the wood in the first place.
And it's broad. Like this, we're going to talk about the tapes next?
Yeah, I think we're going to go to the tapes. Yeah. That was really the only 2 product categories I had to talk about today.
But this one's pretty broad.
You know what? Let's go back 1 second. Some people use just wood oil for end cut sealant as well. I know some guys are using like Q-Tech instead of using like an official like end cut pressure treated sealant material. They use just a deck oil like Q-Tech and they just soak their ends in that. Little tip too, actually, when we were building these end cut treatments, you paint them on. And so paintbrush is the easiest way to do it, but what we used to do is we used to dip it in an old GRK box. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
So the GRK fasteners come in those plastic tubs that are probably, it depends on the size of the bits you're getting, but like 12-inch long boxes, and they're about 4 inches wide, and they're plastic. And we would pour our treatment into that thing and just dip our blocking right into it, let it soak it right up. So there's a tip for like getting it on fast instead of dipping the paintbrush 10 times. Just dip it into a GRK box.
I mean, it's not too often that you're going to construction site to build a deck and you've got a paintbrush specifically for end cut that you're thinking about.
Yeah, unless you're doing it all the time.
You're super proactive. Yeah, not like us.
Anyway, so that's that. Now on to it seems to be like a booming category of products is the tapes. Everybody's getting into this tape game now.
Flashing tapes, yeah.
So it's not a new category. It's been around for years, but there's like the big brands are starting to get into it, so it's getting a lot of attention. Years and years ago, before I was aware of any of these tapes that are out now, I was using 4-inch rolls of tar paper that you could buy locally, and I was taping up my beams with not taping, but covering my beams with the tar paper and a tack hammer and stapling it on, because even back then I understood that like I'd torn off enough decks to know that the beams always had crap in between them, in between the laminated plies, always had seeds and dirt and everything, and that's where rot was occurring. And so I used to tar paper mine. And then I found a better product years and years ago called Resisto Joist Guard, and it was a self-adhesive solution to this. Now I didn't have to tack hammer this stuff down. I just peeled the paper off the back. Right? Yeah, it was like an asphalt-based tape, and you could buy it in I think 4-inch and 9-inch rolls. And it was like it wasn't the thinnest stuff though, but it had like a ribbing to it. I don't know what the point of the ribbing was, but so it was self-adhesive at least though, and it had that asphalt adhesive on it that would then self-seal around the screw that you're putting in. So then I started using that. Problem with that stuff is it, like outside of the perfect temperature range, it just was a nightmare to work with.
Yeah.
If it was too cold, and by too cold, I mean probably like 10 degrees Celsius, which would be like, I don't know, 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. If it was below that, it just wouldn't stick at all, really. Like the asphalt would, I think it was asphalt. I don't think it was butyl. I think it was asphalt, but I could be wrong in that. It just would, it would get hard. Like not hard to the point that it was cracking, but it just wouldn't stick anymore. It wasn't gummy enough. So then you had to tack hammer it down anyway. If it was in the optimal range, which is kind of like 10 to 25 degrees Celsius, which is again that 45 to, I don't know, 80.
Sure.
It would work just fine. That was your good range. If it was over that, if it was like 30 degrees and up or 90 degrees and up, then it become a gooey mess.
Right. It just wouldn't
to work with.
Stuck to itself, and it would almost be like slippery. Like if you put it on, you could like push on it, it would just start to slide.
Yeah, because it got gooey.
So gooey.
So it was a good product. It worked really well, and as with any product category ever, people started like making improvements upon things, and so that was my go-to for a while. And then now there's a bunch of products out there. So like some people have also used Blue Skin or like Red Zone or those other water flashing tapes that are meant for other purposes, but they serve the purpose just the wrong color. But now you've got a plethora of products in market now that are doing the same thing, each with their different approach to it. And so there's still asphalt-based tapes out there. I think Vicor is an asphalt-based, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got the asphalt-based tapes, which they're all going to perform fairly similar to what the Resistor joist guard did. So like Vicor and Deckwise have joist tapes that are asphalt-based. And then you got your butyl-based ones, and those ones seem to be getting a little bit more traction. That's what the big brands have kind of gotten onto. So your TimberTech ProTac tape now, like TimberTech has a line of joist tapes now called ProTac. That's a butyl-based tape. Trex Protect also has a butyl-based tape. It's basically based off their Rain Escape system tape. Same thing, different dimensions. So those products are out there, and they're really good. Like they do struggle with some of the same issues that the asphalt-based tapes do, but I don't think to the same extent.
I think the temperature range for application, like optimal application, is a little bit more broad.
Yeah, they're a little bit more workable than the asphalt-based ones, I believe. So, the Trex Protect ones come in an 1 5/8 width. That's obviously for your single joist applications, and then a 3 1/8, which is good for, I guess, double, like 2-ply.
Yeah,
but they don't have anything wider. Which I feel like they're missing the boat on there. And then
what's the Rain Escape tape dimensions?
Well, you could use a Rain Escape one. You got 4-inch Rain Escape ones.
Yeah.
So you could use a Rain Escape tape, I guess. So yeah, those are good. Again, they stick just fine. Stick really well when it's not freezing out, and they can be a little bit gummy as well. They're fairly thin, so they don't like cause your deck boards to ride weird or anything. So they're not bad that way. And then there's, of course, the one that's probably... No, let's talk about the other one first. There's another product called Imus Cap, which is a... I've never actually seen it locally.
I literally just learned about this before we did this podcast.
It's the same idea. It's a butyl adhesive on the back of it, but instead of using like whatever film for the tape, they use like metal. It's a metal cap with a butyl base underneath, so you screw through metal. Seems weird.
I'm not sure. Anyway. Not sure how that would work. So does that mean
you got to buy lengths of it, right? You have to buy big lengths instead of a roll of tape. That's my problem with it. It probably arguably maybe lasts longer under sun exposure because it's metal and not. But I don't know.
So do you need metal fat self-tapping screws to get?
I wouldn't think so. It's probably like thin aluminum or something. I don't know exactly what it is. So I imagine most screws will bite through it, but I don't know that for sure. I just felt like I had to mention it.
Okay. Well,
so the one we like and everybody seems to like is G-Tape. Everybody's been listening for 14 minutes, be like, oh, when are they going to talk about G-Tape? G-Tape is obviously the other big competitor in this space. It's different than all the ones you've mentioned already. It's not a butyl. It's not an asphalt. It's an acrylic.
It's an acrylic, yeah.
So the benefits of the acrylic are numerous. It's acrylic adhesive, so it works differently than the butyl and asphalts. The butyl and asphalts, the way they self-seal a screw hole or a nail hole is to squish out material, like squish out glue around it, because there's it's a thicker layer of glue that's in there. So as you compress into it, it squishes around the screw. The problem with that, if you ask G-Tape or I guess just science, is that when it gets cold, that stuff can contract And so sometimes it can pull away from the screw. I don't see that as being a big issue. Like we install lots of rain escape up here and we get really cold and it doesn't leak. So
yeah,
I don't know how often that's actually happening, but the benefit of the acrylic is it works different. It doesn't squish out, so it's super thin. The tape is like, it's paper thin.
It is paper thin, yeah.
Because the adhesive isn't gooped on there, but the adhesive holds a negative charge. And so when that negative charge has a metal fastener go through it, it's magnetically attracted to it and it self-seals that way. And obviously like magnets aren't, like that charge isn't affected by temperature, so therefore it's never going to pull away from the screw. So that's the nice thing about G-tape. The fact that it's super thin is another nice thing.
Dimensions, there's a vast array of, what is it, like 2, 4, 6, 9, 12.
And 54, I think it is.
Yeah.
So you get like literally sheet a roof with it.
Yep.
But yeah, the dimensions are obviously a lot nicer because a lot of people nowadays are flat blocking. So if you're going to lay down a 2x6 up against a joist and you've got 7 and change material or 9 and change, if it's bigger lumber or double joist, whatever, you can use the 9-inch or 12-inch or whatever and do it all in one pass. So that's nice. Also, some guys are wrapping the tape over their rim joist between their rim joist and their fascia. And so that a nice 12-inch roll does a good job of that too. You don't want to be running, don't want to like run and overlap 10, 1 and 5/8 inch.
I think the big one for me on that is, like when you're applying it, if you don't quite nail it or it's not as straight as you want it to be, you can actually pull it off and reapply it and it still sticks. That's
one of the unbelievable things about it. You cannot do that with butyl or asphalt based tapes. If they touch themselves or anything else,
that's it.
It's on. So G-tape you can unstick from itself. So if a wind catches it and whips it around you, you just unpeel it from itself and you stick it down. And then you do have some time for workability. If you leave it on there too long, it's going to peel the wood up because the stuff sticks like crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But initially, if you need to reposition to get out a wrinkle or something like that, you can do that. Whereas with those other options, you can't. Another thing I loved about it was the fact that it's hand tearable.
Yes.
So you don't need a knife. The other products you need knives to cut through, and then we mentioned having a sticky mess of adhesive. Well, that gets all of your knives too in your hands. So it's cleaner to be able to just kind of like rip it in half, hand tearable. That's awesome. What else? There was something else I want to talk about that was really good. Sticks at any temperature. That's the biggest thing.
Big one.
For us anyway, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the biggest one. It's one of many great features of it. That stuff is crazy. Like I didn't believe that it would stick at any temperature until we tried it. And it sticks at any temperature. It sticks just as good at like plus 40 as it does at minus 40. Or it sticks just as good at 110 as it does at minus 30.
Cold.
Fahrenheit,
really
right?
Cold, yeah.
So I used even just the low grade, what's it called? 2010, I think. No, it's been too long since we sold the non-deck related tapes. But the green one, the one that's supposed to be like a low, like no residue, their least sticky option.
Right.
I put up Christmas lights with it.
And it stayed?
Yeah.
Really?
I put it up in like November when it was I don't know what it was. It was cold. And I just had a couple spots where I was running my Christmas lights that they were kind of loose and I wanted to hold them to my vinyl siding and to my aluminum railing just to get them tight there. So I used a little bit of this G-tape on vinyl siding and a cold aluminum railing and left it there until probably frickin' like April or maybe a month longer than I should have. And so it sat through the coldest winter and then it got into a warmer spring and it stayed the whole time and I peeled it off in the spring with no residue. It was crazy.
There you go. You heard it here first. You can also use G-tape for hanging Christmas lights.
That's right. Yeah. So I think maybe we kind of showed a preference there. I think we like the G-tape. Just there's a few reasons to like it. Mm-hmm. Or now if you go and look at some of the demonstrations that Trex or TimberTech will put on about their products, they'll show you the benefits of their products over a G-tape. I know one of them is that G-tape will scuff a little bit easier than TimberTech's tape, whatever. So if you've got your
sliding joist
tape
along a beam or something like that.
Yeah, your sliding lumber or something like that, it can scrape or tear a little bit easier. So there are some things that are beneficial with the other ones. And if you're always installing decks, like if you're in, where's a moderate climate that stays moderate all year round? Like if you're in
like Tennessee somewhere?
Sure. Somewhere where it's not, like it's going to get hot there too, but somewhere where it doesn't, you're not working with cold a whole bunch, well then you don't have to worry about the fact that it won't stick in the cold, then fine. Mm-hmm. Like the other tapes are awesome too. The bottom of the line is tape your joist is a good practice regardless of which brand you pick. It's just which one you prefer to work with.
Right. It's all about water retention.
That's right. So it's just the point is to keep the water off the tops of the joist because especially with this plastic, composite, and PVC decking we're putting down now, as Marty from G-Tapes always used to say, we're putting Tupperware lids over top of our deck framing now.
Yeah.
Like moisture's not getting out. It's just like the wood's taking all of it.
Well, you're you're literally putting down boards that are guaranteed for 25, 30, 50 years.
Yeah.
So who wants to tear up that decking after 10 years because their frame's all rotted out?
Yeah. So. And that's like, those are the common rot places, right? Around 4x4 posts where you've blocked your 4x4 railing post in. Now that whole practice of doing railing posts is becoming less common as composite decks and aluminum surface mount rails come in. But there, obviously, your ledger connection, which you need to flash, and some people are using G-tape there as well.
Laminated beams.
Laminated beams anywhere. Keep the water from getting in between, or dirt or whatever in between the beams. It's a good spot there. Your flat blocking, that's becoming more common. Taping, that's good because you're just asking for water to lay in that on top of that board. And then the
stair stringers,
great spot too. And then the cavity between, not the cavity, but the spot between the top of your joist and the deck board laying on it, the water gets between it, can't dry out because there's no airflow there. The plastic decking's fine. It's not absorbing anything.
Right.
But the wood just stays wet. And you got a fastener hole drilled through there probably somewhere, so it can slide into there. So these tapes just allow you to keep the lumber dry too.
Yeah.
Which is going to make it last a lot longer. Cost-wise, it's cheap to do this. So in Canadian funds, usually most of our decks, if we're going to G-tape a whole deck, it's like 50 cents a square foot, which in US dollars, I'm guessing that's probably 30 to 40 cents a square foot is the cost of the actual tape.
And then take long to install it either. Like it's super quick.
And like any of your laborers can throw this stuff down. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty simple upgrade as far as like for DIY, if they want to do it themselves, it's not going to take too much time. It's easy to do. The cost is low. For contractors, it's a great upgrade that you can sell. Mm-hmm. So it's because it's a good peace of mind thing to do. You're increasing the lifespan of your framing, and it's a chance for an upsell for you to make a few more dollars doing the install on it. So, and you charge whatever you want for it. So, good.
Yeah. Good talk.
There wasn't any innuendos.
Good chat. No, there weren't.
Somehow we stayed away from the innuendos. I don't know how that happened, but
anyway.
What else? I feel like is that it? Is that what we're talking about? We're done with the G-tapes. We're done with all tapes. How else do you protect your wood? We could talk about flashing in general against the house. I guess I'm sure everybody knows kind of what that's all about.
Well, but like again, if you want to do like a super expensive water like Trex Rain Escape, because that covers everything.
Yeah, Rain Escape. Yeah, that'll
keep the water out.
Yeah, that's because with these tapes, you're just taping the tops of the joist, so water still runs down the side of the joist, and that's fine because there's lots of airflow there. It's going to dry out. The problem is when wood stays wet. Nobody likes wet wood. There we go.
There's one.
Work one in. You always got to protect your wood. But as long as there's airflow, like the bottom of the joist, the sides of the joist, whatever, not a big deal. We have, though, on jobs where we've had the beams almost sitting in the dirt or actually sitting in the dirt a bit and gravel around it, we've taped the whole beam, like wrapped from the bottom up and then overlapped from top down to make sure that we're protecting the whole beam so no water's ever getting into it. So. That's right. And there's always people that are like, I think the wood should breathe. You shouldn't. It's like the wood can breathe. The point is, if you're not letting water in the first place.
Exactly. Well, and how can wood breathe if it's buried? Like if it's buried in the dirt. Yeah. Like there's no airflow there.
Yeah, exactly.
And we actually use blueskin one.
Yeah, we've used blueskin in the past before too. It's just that the tapes that are meant for this purpose are always black, so that's nice.
Yeah.
It's blacked out. You don't see it between the joists and whatnot. So that's kind of a big bonus, I guess, for using those tapes. Because one time before I knew all these tapes existed, I did blue skin the top of the joist on a whole deck, and not thinking about what that was going to look like between the boards afterwards. I just I taped them all. I was like, this is a great practice. I'm for sure the first guy in town doing
little
this.
baby blue strips, staring back.
And then I start putting the decking down, and it's like you put your little gaps in, and I look at it, I was like, oh boy,
what have I done?
They can't leave bright baby blue showing between my joists. So then I went back after and put tar paper over top of that.
Wow.
That tar paper I used on the beams, I put over that. So that deck's, it's 85 years old now. It looks brand new. But it's probably it's double protected now, so it's not going anywhere. I had another thought there that I was going with. I was like, I forgot to talk about it. No,
So the paints, the tapes, I don't know.
while I was telling that story, remember what I was going to talk about before. Now I've lost it again. Terrible. Anyway, that's enough. We've rambled on for long enough. What else? We're going to fire up the YouTube show again. So if you've taken a hiatus, because we haven't put a video up on YouTube since March 2nd.
Everybody else is taking a hiatus too. Yeah. I did notice.
March 2nd. The videos have been super well watched. There's tons of people watching them and commenting on them, so we need to get back into that. We just kind of got busy with the season, and we made time every week to do the podcast and kind of let the YouTube thing fall apart. So we're literally ending this podcast and recording a video for YouTube. So it's going to be a good one. It's going to be on like all the hidden fasteners and whatnot. So check that out. Again, last week we mentioned that we are going to be down at Deck Expo this year in Louisville in November at the Decorators booth.
5th to 9th.
Yeah. Well, that's when we're going.
That's when we're going.
6th to 8th is the conference show. Those dates. And so we're going to be at the Decorators booth. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head right here, but it's a big booth. They got some new stuff to talk about, and we're going to be shooting some podcasts and shows live from that booth. There's going to be an Instagram meetup on the Thursday at 2 p.m. So we're hoping to see everybody come visit us there. And there's going to be tons of swag to give away there, both from us and from Decorators. But there's also going to be beer.
There is?
I got a message from them. They said they got it set up. There's going to be the Instagram meetup at 2:00, free beer.
That is amazing.
So attendance just tenfold right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you're looking for a beer on Thursday afternoon, which why wouldn't you be, stop by the Decorators booth, say hi, and stop in on the podcast. Like take a seat and come in. Like I really like the idea that we should just like sit down, start a podcast, open the mics, have chairs sitting there, and whoever wants to sit down and just talk shop. Let's do it.
We'll have an open mic. We'll have an open mic podcast.
Open mic. There we go. Yeah. So let's do that. So that's it for today, everybody. G-tapes. Protect your wood. It's a good practice. It just adds longevity to this, this young, early growth lumber that we have out there nowadays. Putting on these 50-year products on a frame that's going to last 15. Do what you can to make it last a little bit longer.
Stamina. Lumber. Wood stamina.
We're stretching it now. Take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week.